All right, welcome back everyone to the deep dive. We're diving into a bunch of resources today, all focused on how to navigate your future career path, especially if you have, diverse learning needs and finding the right support and opportunities. You've shared some really interesting things with me, including this careers newsletter. It's got articles, advice, stories, and opportunities all about different industries and how to get your foot in the door. So our mission here is to pull out the most useful and interesting nuggets from all this to help you see what's out there more clearly as you plan what comes next.
Yeah. Think of us as, well, your guides through all this really helpful stuff you've gathered, which is mostly this careers newsletter, right? It's like a um, really concentrated dose of insights, practical advice, stories about people who found their way, and, well, crucially, a heads up on specific opportunities that you might want to explore.
Okay, so let's break it down. The newsletter starts by talking about understanding the support that's available. And one thing that really popped out was the encouragement for students heading to LSE, to disclose any disabilities early on. Now, why is that so important for you, the listener? Why is it so important to get that ball rolling early?
Well, what's really interesting here is that early disclosure isn't just about ticking a box, right? It's about you being proactive, like setting yourself up for success. By letting LSE know early on, you can tap into the specific support you're entitled to, like those reasonable adjustments we hear about right from the get-go. The newsletter even have a link, point you to a web page with the details. So it's about ensuring you have what you need to really participate fully and equitably in your education from the very first day. Plus, this early engagement, it also sends a strong message to the institution, a message about their commitment to being truly inclusive.
Yeah. Makes total sense. It's all about creating a level playing field right from the start. And it sounds like LSE has a pretty solid system in place for that. Now, the newsletter also mentions this Steer Your Career podcast episode with Edith, an LSE careers consultant, who goes into detail about the wider disability and well-being support they offer.
Right. And connecting this to the bigger picture, it shows that educational institutions are starting to, better understand that students have diverse needs. When we talk about reasonable adjustments, we're talking about, modifications, accommodations, things like assistive technology during lectures or some flexibility with those deadlines, all to make sure that everyone has an equal chance to learn and succeed.
Got it. So it's not about giving anyone an unfair advantage. It's about making sure everyone has the tools they need, the support they need to thrive. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. The newsletter includes a careers exploration worksheet, which sounds like a pretty practical first step for, anyone who's thinking about their future.
Totally. This kind of resource is gold for anyone starting to think about their career options. It gives you a framework, helps you think about your interests, your skills, what you're good at, and, well, your values, what's really important to you in a job. It encourages a more, thoughtful approach to planning your career instead of just sending out applications randomly.
Right. And speaking of different paths to explore, there's a section, it's called Spotlight On, and it focuses on the engineering and technology sectors here in the UK. And the numbers are pretty striking, aren't they? Something like 19.2% of the workforce, which is about 6.3 million people, are in these fields, with an average earning of around £39,163 a year. So if you're thinking about a career in tech,
Yeah, those numbers really underline the size and the economic impact of these industries, the engineering and technology industries.
Yeah.
In the UK, I mean. That level of employment plus the average earnings, suggests a sector that's bursting with opportunities, right? And a big contributor to the national economy. But they're not just about jobs that are available right now. They also point to, likely, a really strong continued demand for skilled professionals in these areas, which could mean, well, a stable and growth-oriented career path for you.
definitely. It really shows a dynamic, vital part of the UK workforce. And the newsletter also points out how some employers are really focusing on inclusivity. Specifically, they mention the Carlsberg Group and their commitment to creating a diverse and inclusive work environment that embraces individuals of all abilities.
What's really notable about Carlsberg's statement is that they actually acknowledge both physical and cognitive differences. They explicitly state a belief in equal opportunities, regardless of these differences. And that really sets a great example for other organizations. It signals a growing awareness and appreciation for neurodiversity. And the fact that they provide a link to more information shows that they're serious about this. They want people to know about their commitment.
Right. It's one thing to say you're inclusive, but it's another thing to actually provide resources to back it up, right?
Right.
Okay, now, the newsletter then mentions Neurodiversity Celebration Week, which happened back in March. And they talk about this video from the RAF showcasing how they celebrate their neurodivergent personnel. It really makes you think about how, different sectors are embracing this idea.
It does. I mean, the RAF, a very structured organization, publicly celebrating their neurodivergent team members, really, well, it speaks volumes about the growing recognition and value placed on different minds. Neurodiversity Celebration Week itself is all about reframing the way we think about neurodevelopmental conditions
Right.
like autism, ADHD. It's shifting the focus from challenges to the strengths, the unique perspectives these individuals bring, ultimately creating a more inclusive environment for everyone.
Right, it's about recognizing that everyone has unique talents. Now, there's also a section in the newsletter that defines alternative provisions, or APs. For anyone listening who might not be familiar, what exactly are these?
So APs, they're educational settings that are designed to support young people who, for different reasons, aren't able to attend mainstream schools. The newsletter lists things like, well, exclusion, illness, behavioral challenges, or, other difficulties that make mainstream education not the best fit for them at the time. The key takeaway is that APs make sure these young people still get a suitable education, an education that fits their needs.
Yeah, and they can go by different names, right? Like pupil referral units, or you might even find them in a college setting. For students who are under 16, it shows how varied these provisions can be.
Exactly. The different terms and the different locations reflect the different needs of the students, right?
Mhm.
Pupil referral units, they often focus on like more short-term interventions with the aim of getting students back into mainstream schools when it's appropriate. While college-based APs might offer more vocational pathways for older students who are looking at other options after secondary school, but the main goal is the same, to offer continuing educational support when mainstream school isn't working.
Right. Okay. So the newsletter then shares this, well, really powerful story about a young man named Max. And his journey, it really emphasizes the importance of having the right support. Can you tell us a bit about his experience?
Sure. Max's story, it comes from Choices magazine. And it's a great example of how, being in a different learning environment can make a huge difference. He had a lot of trouble in mainstream school, struggling with undiagnosed ADHD, autism, and dyslexia. And unfortunately, without the right understanding and support, he was often mislabeled. And, well, eventually he was excluded in year 9, which sadly happens a lot to neurodivergent students in mainstream schools.
That's really hard to hear, but it sounds like things got better for Max, right?
Yeah, they did. Enrolling in an alternative provision was a real turning point for him. It provided a place where his needs could be understood and met. He was able to earn level 1 qualifications in practical skills like joinery and brickwork, as well as, essential skills in maths and English. That foundation was crucial for his future progress.
And he didn't stop there, right? He went on to do an apprenticeship.
Exactly. Building on those level 1 qualifications, he got a level 2 apprenticeship in carpentry and joinery. And with the support of the learning environment, he really thrived. He even got a distinction in his level 2 qualification, which is fantastic. This success really motivated him, and now he's aiming for a level 3 apprenticeship. It's a perfect example of how the right environment and targeted support can really help someone reach their potential.
Such an inspiring story. And it shows how important it is to have different educational paths available when mainstream schooling doesn't work for someone. Now, the newsletter also mentions an exciting opportunity. It's an Insight Day hosted by Credit Agricole Corporate Investment Bank, or CIV. And this one is specifically for autistic young people who are interested in the finance industry. So for anyone listening who might be interested.
Yeah, this is an amazing initiative. By offering this Insight Day just for autistic individuals interested in finance, CAC is showing a real commitment to neurodiversity in the sector. The event is on Wednesday, May 14th from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It's a great chance to learn firsthand about the finance industry and what it's like to work at CAC, all in an environment that aims to be really supportive and understanding. It's a direct path to explore, and it could open up future career possibilities.
Sounds like an incredibly valuable experience. Finally, there's this word of the week section. We don't know the specific word here, but it's interesting that they're focusing on skills like vocabulary building as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a small thing,
Yeah.
but it suggests that the newsletter takes a holistic approach. They recognize that career development isn't just about specific job openings or qualifications, but also about broader knowledge and communication skills.
So, to wrap up our deep dive into this careers newsletter, the key takeaway for you is this. There's a whole range of paths and a lot of support out there as you figure out your future. This newsletter is a great example, providing info about university support, employer inclusivity initiatives, the role of alternative education, and even, specific opportunities like that CC Insight Day. It shows that your learning style or differences, they don't have to be obstacles. In fact, they can be a source of strength, unique perspectives that are increasingly valued.
Absolutely. It really makes you think, right, about how creating these different learning environments and, employers who are actively working to be more inclusive, how that can lead to more opportunities, not just for people with diverse learning needs, but, well, ultimately for everyone. This kind of understanding benefits everyone, fostering innovation and a more equitable, rich society.
Hmm.
It's really worth considering how we can all contribute to building a more supportive and understanding path for career development.
Great stuff. As always, thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.